students, how are you all? I'm sure you all are doing really good. So children, let's begin with our next chapter, which is Delhi 12th to 15th century. Points to study: Arab invasion in India, rulers of Delhi, the slave dynasty, the Khiljis AD 1290 to 1320, the Tughlaqs AD 1320 to 1412, Sayyid dynasty 1414 to 1450 AD, Lodi dynasty 1451 to 1526 AD, administration under Sultanate, architecture, mosques, distinction of the Sultanate, case study the Khilji and Tughlaqs. Introduction: The rulers who ruled substantial parts of North India between AD 1200 to AD 1526 was termed as sultans, and the period of their rules as the Delhi Sultanate. These rulers were the Turkish and Afghan origins. तो बच्चों, जो रूलर्स हुआ करते थे उनका नॉर्थ इंडिया में काफ़ी कब्जा हुआ करता था बिटवीन AD 1200 टू 1526. ठीक है, इन्हें सुल्तान के नाम से टर्म किया जाता था और साथ ही साथ जितना भी एरिया इन्होंने ऑक्यूपाई किया गया था उसे सल्तनत कहा जाता था, जैसे कि दिल्ली सल्तनत. ठीक है, ये जो सुल्तान थे ये टर्किश थे एंड अफगान थे. अरब इन्वेजन इन इंडिया. In the early 8th century, Arabs invaded India led by Muhammad bin Qasim. After that, Mahmud of Ghazni invaded India 17 times. His motive was to plunder the riches of Indian temples. In 1026, he plundered the famous Somnath temple in Gujarat. Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam, Muhammad of Ghori, invaded India out of territorial ambitions. He first occupied Multan in 1175. However, he was defeated by Bhima II, the Solanki ruler of Gujarat, in 1178. In 1191, he again suffered a defeat at the hand of Prithviraj Chauhan in the first battle of Tarain. However, he crushed Prithviraj in the second battle of Tarain in 1192 with the help of Jai Chandra of Gadad. In 1194, Muhammad defeated Jai Chandra himself in the Battle of Chandwar. Muhammad was murdered by an Afghan Muslim fanatic in 1206. Soon after his suppression of the rebellion of the Kokas in Punjab, the political achievements of Muhammad Ghori in India were longer lasting than those of Mahmud of Ghazni. While Mahmud of Ghazni was mainly interested in plundering, Muhammad Ghori wanted to establish his political control. His death in AD 1206 did not mean the withdrawal of the Turkish interest in India. He left behind his slave General Qutbuddin Aibak, who became first Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate. तो बच्चों, इनका इन्वेजन इंडिया में क्यों हुआ था? क्योंकि इंडिया के जितने भी टेम्पल्स थे वो ये लूटना चाहते थे और इन्होंने जो फेमस सोमनाथ टेम्पल है गुजरात का वो इन्होंने लूटा भी था. म्यूज़ुद्दीन मोहम्मद बिन साम, जिसे मोहम्मद ऑफ गौरी भी कहा जाता था, उसने इंडिया में 17 टाइम जो है आक्रमण किया था और काफ़ी बार ये डिफीट भी हुआ था, लेकिन ये हार नहीं मानता था. ये बार बार आकर जो हिंदू राजा हुआ करते थे उनसे ये लड़ाई करता था. तो इसको पृथ्वीराज चौहान के द्वारा क्रश किया गया था. हालांकि इसने जब सेकंड वॉर हुई थी पृथ्वीराज चौहान के साथ तो उसमें इसने धोखे से पृथ्वीराज को हरा दिया था. ठीक है, इसके बाद इसने वो एरिया को कॉन्कर कर लिया था और फिर वहाँ पे अपना जो राज्य है वो स्थापित कर लिया था. रूलर्स ऑफ दिल्ली, रूलर्स ऑफ राजपूत तोमर डायनेस्टी. तोमर्स अर्ली 12th century to 1165. Anangapala 1130 to 1145, Chauhans 1165 to 1192, Prithviraj Chauhan 1175 to 1192. Rulers of Tughlaq dynasty: Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq Shah I, 1320 to 1324. Muhammad Tughlaq 1324 to 1351. Firoz Shah Tughlaq 1351 to 1388. Rulers of Sayyid dynasty: Khijr Khan Sayyid 1414 to 1421, Mubarak Shah II 1421 to 1433, Muhammad bin Shah IV 1433 to 1443. Alauddin Alam Shah 1443 to 1451. Rulers of slave dynasty: Qutbuddin Aibak 1206 to 1210, Shamsuddin Iltutmish 1210 to 1236, Razia Sultan 1236 to 1240, Mizuddin Barhan Shah 1240 to 1242, Alauddin Masood 1242 to 1246, Nasruddin Mahmud 1246 to 1266, Ghiyazuddin Balban 1266 to 1287. Rulers of Khilji dynasty: Jalaluddin Firoz Khilji 1290 to 1296, Alauddin Khilji 1296 to 1316, मुबारक शाह खिलजी 1316 to 1320। तो बच्चों ये आपको ईयर्स बताए हुए कि किस ईयर से किस ईयर तक जो मुगल शासक थे उन्होंने राज किया था इंडिया में। नाउ द स्लेव डायनेस्टी with Qutbuddin Aibak begins the period of Mamluk sultans or the slave. He was a Turkish slave who had risen to high rank in Muhammad Ghori's army. After Muhammad Ghori's death in AD 1206, the control of his Indian possessions was passed to the Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak was brave, faithful and generous. Due to his generosity, he was known as Lakh Bakhsh. Most of the scholars consider Aibak as a real founder of Muslim rule in India. In AD 1210, Aibak died of injuries received in a fall from a horse while playing Chaugan polo. After Qutbuddin Aibak, the next able ruler was Iltutmish. Iltutmish established group of 40 Turke Chehelgani. These were Turkish armies, nobles who advised and helped the sultans in administrating the sultanate. Under his strong governance, the slave dynasty was able to find a strong footing and establish itself as an important kingdom. The army was organized efficiently under Iltutmish, and he also introduced a coin currency known as tanka. It was in his reign that the construction of Qutub Minar was completed. After ruling successfully for a period of 25 years, he died but nominated his daughter Razia Sultan as the heir to the throne. She was an able ruler, but since she was a woman, she faced stern opposition from nobles who got her murdered. The last effective emperor of the slave dynasty was Ghiyasuddin Balban. He ruled from 1266 to 1286. During his reign, the administration was strengthened and he paid much attention to the governance in his empire. The army was trained effectively to use weapons, and the production of arms and other war weaponries was at its peak. This is what helped them fight against attacks by the Mongols. He died in 1286 and after him the slave dynasty collapsed. तो बच्चों हम सबसे पहले बात कर लेते हैं स्लेव डायनेस्टी के बारे में। कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक जो था उसने स्लेव डायनेस्टी की खोज की थी, उसका फाउंडेशन उसने रखा था। वो खुद एक क्या था, स्लेव था। ठीक है, वो एक टर्किश स्लेव था जो कि मोहम्मद गौरी की आर्मी में काम किया करता था, उसका एक हाई रैंक था। जब मोहम्मद गौरी की डेथ हो गई थी उसके बाद कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक जो था उसने सारा कंट्रोल जो था अपने अंडर में ले लिया था। वो एक फेथफुल और जनरस इंसान था। ठीक है, तो उसने अपने राज्य में काफ़ी अच्छे अच्छे काम भी किए थे, लेकिन एक बार घोड़े से गिरकर उसकी क्या हो गई थी, इंजरी हो गई थी और इंजरी से उसकी क्या हो गई थी, डेथ हो गई थी। इसके बाद कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक का जो नेक्स्ट रूलर था वो था इल्तुतमिश। इल्तुतमिश ने एस्टैब्लिश की थी ग्लोरी ग्रुप ऑफ 40 पीपल्स, जिसे तुर्कने चहलगाम भी कहते हैं। ठीक है, ये टर्किश आमिर थे जो कि एडवाइस किया करते थे और सुल्तान को हेल्प किया करते थे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चलाने में। इसने सिक्का जो था कॉइन की भी खोज की थी जिसको टंका कहा कहते हैं, और इसने कुतुब मीनार को भी कंप्लीट करवाया था। लेकिन इसकी डेथ के बाद इसकी डॉटर जिसका नाम था रजिया सुल्तान, उसको सिंहासन जो था वो दे दिया गया था, सत्ता जो गद्दी थी वो संभालने के लिए दे दी थी। लेकिन कुछ लोग उसके खिलाफ थे, क्यों? क्योंकि वो एक वुमेन एम्पायर थी और कुछ लोग नहीं चाहते थे कि वो जो वुमेन है उसके अंडर में काम करे। तो कुछ टाइम के बाद उसको भी क्या कर दिया गया था, मर्डर कर दिया था। इसके बाद गियासुद्दीन बलबन को सारा जो कामकाज था वो सौंपा गया और उन्होंने 1266 से 1286 जो कार्यभार था वो संभाला। इसके बाद उनकी भी डेथ हो गई थी, उनको भी अटैक कर दिया गया था मंगोल्स के द्वारा, और जिसमें युद्ध में उनकी क्या हो गई थी, डेथ हो गई थी। और इसके बाद जो स्लेव डायनेस्टी थी वो कोलैप्स हो गई थी। द खिलजीज AD 1290 to 1320. The first Indian ruler of the Khilji dynasty was Jalaluddin Firoz Khilji, who ruled from 1290 to 1294. He invaded India and built his capital in Delhi, though he never really ruled from there. He constructed another capital at Kilokri and ruled from there for around 6 years. During that time, Mongols attacked the country. In response to this, Jalaluddin Khilji put up a brave front, and his smart negotiation made the Mongols depart. They came back, however, 5 years later and attacked once again when his nephew ascended the throne. Jalaluddin Khilji was murdered by his own nephew when he was going to visit him in Kara. The second ruler of Khilji dynasty was Alauddin Khilji, whose real name was Juna Khan. He was the nephew and son-in-law of the first Khilji ruler, Jalaluddin Khilji. He killed Jalaluddin Khilji and then announced himself as the ruler of Delhi. Alauddin expanded his territory into the peninsular India within a short span of time. He died in January 1316 due to an acute health condition. The third and last ruler of Khilji dynasty in India was Qutbuddin Mubarak Shah. He was the weakest ruler of all, and during his reign, all taxes and penalties were abolished. He released all prisoners of war who were captured after waging gruesome battles. He was ultimately murdered by Khusrau Khan, and this ended the Khilji dynasty in India. तो बच्चों बात कर लेते हैं हम खिलजी डायनेस्टी के बारे में। जो फर्स्ट इंडियन रूलर हुआ करते थे वो खिलजी डायनेस्टी के हुआ करते थे जलालुद्दीन फिरोज खिलजी, जिन्होंने 1290 से लेकर 1294 तक इंडिया को कॉन्कर किया था और रूल किया था। ठीक है, इन्होंने बहुत सारे जो युद्ध थे वो करे थे और उसके बाद ये कहाँ गए थे, दिल्ली आ गए थे उसे कॉन्कर करने के लिए। इन्होंने अपनी कैपिटल जो थी वो किलोकरी में बनाई थी और वहीं से ये रूल किया करते थे। ठीक है, फिर धीरे धीरे ये दिल्ली की तरफ शिफ्ट हो गए थे और यहाँ पर मंगोल्स जो थे वो हमारी कंट्री में अटैक करते थे, हालांकि इनके द्वारा मंगोल्स को भी हरा दिया गया था। इसके बाद जलालुद्दीन खिलजी को मर्डर कर दिया गया था बाय हिज सन नेफ्यू, जो कि बाद में जाकर क्या हो गया था, उसने शासन संभाल लिया था, जिसका नाम था अलाउद्दीन खिलजी। उसका रियल नेम जूना खान था और वो नेफ्यू और सन इन लॉ था फर्स्ट खिलजी रूलर का, जिसका नाम था जलालुद्दीन खिलजी। उन्होंने जलालुद्दीन खिलजी को मार दिया था। इसके बाद उन्होंने खुद को दिल्ली का जो सुल्तान है वो घोषित कर दिया था। तो बच्चों इसके बाद 16 जनवरी में उनकी हेल्थ कंडीशंस की वजह से क्या हो गई थी, मृत्यु हो गई थी। इसके बाद जो थर्ड और लास्ट रूलर थे खिलजी डायनेस्टी के वो थे कुतुबुद्दीन मुबारक शाह। ये एक वीकेस्ट रूलर माने जाते थे। इन्होंने क्या किया था, जितने भी जो कैदी थे उन्होंने रिहा कर दिया था। इसके बाद इन्हें भी मर्डर कर दिया गया था खुसराओ खान के बाद, और इस तरह से जो खिलजी डायनेस्टी है उसका एंड हो गया था। The Tughlaqs AD 1320 to 1414. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was the founder of the Tughlaq dynasty in India. His real name was Ghazi Malik. He was the one who founded the city of Tughlaqabad outside Delhi. He waged a gruesome battle against Khusrau Khan, who killed the last Khilji ruler. His successful defense against the Mongols made him an able ruler and the founder of dynasty in India. He conquered many areas including eastern portion of Bengal, a huge territory. One of the most controversial rulers in India, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, was the successor of Ghazi Tughlaq. The empire was spread and his rule grew. He was a brilliant person who had full command over mathematics and medicine, yet he was considered crazy by those who were there in his court. He was known to mete out very cruel and brutal punishments to people who were found guilty of even small mistakes. He shifted his capital from Delhi to a place in the outskirts known as Daulatabad, which harmed his reputation amongst policy makers. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the successor of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Firoz Shah was a caring ruler unlike Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He made sure that people in his kingdom were happy and heard out their problem patiently. However, he was not militarily strong and could not sustain any sort of external attacks or aggression. Firoz Shah breathed his last in the year 1388, and after that the Tughlaq dynasty faded away in no time. तो बच्चों खिलजीज के बाद तुगलक आए थे इंडिया में। गियासुद्दीन तुगलक जो था वो फाउंडर माना जाता था तुगलक डायनेस्टी का, और इसका रियल नेम था गाजी मलिक। वही एक इकलौता था जिसने तुगलक डायनेस्टी की खोज की थी, और उन्होंने ही जो दिल्ली के बाहर सिटी है तुगलकाबाद उसको फाउंड भी किया था। उन्होंने काफ़ी लड़ाइयाँ लड़ी थी, और जो लास्ट खिलजी रूलर था ये भी गियासुद्दीन तुगलक के द्वारा ही मारा गया था। इसके जो मोस्ट कॉन्स्टेबल रूलर थे वो मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक माने जाते थे, और इनके जो सक्सेसर थे वो गाजी तुगलक माने गए थे। जो एम्पायर था वो काफ़ी दूर तक फैला हुआ था, और काफ़ी दूर तक काफ़ी जगहों पे जो आसपास के स्टेट थे वहाँ पे भी ये रूल किया करता था। ये काफ़ी ब्रिलियंट पर्सन माना जाता था, और इसका फुल कमांड था ओवर मैथमेटिक्स एंड मेडिसिन। ठीक है, फिरोज शाह तुगलक जो था वो सक्सेसर माना गया था मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक फिरोज शाह का, और जो कैरी करता था सारे के सारे रूल्स को अपने फादर की ही तरह। इसके बाद किसी बीमारी की वजह से इनकी क्या हो गई थी, डेथ हो गई थी। सैयद डायनेस्टी 1414 to 1451 AD. The founder of Sayyid dynasty was Khazir Khan. He was known to be an able administrator and was very soft-natured. He never resorted to bloody battles until it was absolutely necessary. He defeated the Hindus of Daw, Kalithar and Chandwar since they had stopped paying tributes. Though he didn't wage many battles during his reign, he was busy suppressing revolts in different parts of his kingdom. He could not come up with many great reforms, but still he was greatly respected and loved by his subjects. After the death of Khazir Khan, his son Mubarak Shah succeeded him on the throne. Like his father, Mubarak Shah was a wise man and an efficient ruler. He used his resources carefully and to the fullest. He was a devout Muslim and cared for his subjects. The city of Mubarak was founded by him in the year 1433. After the death of Mubarak Shah, his brother's son Mahmud Shah succeeded him on the throne. Since Mubarak Shah did not have a son, he was not an able ruler and misused his power and position of authority. He lost the trust and affection of his nobles and royal force who had freed him from his captors. He was lethargic and lazy ruler who just wanted to live his life in pleasure. After the death of Muhammad Shah in 1444, his son took over the throne under the title of Alam Shah. During the year 1447, he visited a place called Badaun and loved it so much that he decided to stay there forever. Till 1451, Delhi was ruled by Bahlul Lodi. Alam Shah ruled Badaun till he died in the year 1478. With his death, the Sayyid dynasty came to an end. तो बच्चों अब हम बात कर लेते हैं सैयद डायनेस्टी के बारे में। जो फाउंडर थे सैयद डायनेस्टी के वो थे खजीर खान, और वो एक एबल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर माने जाते थे। वो काफ़ी सॉफ्ट नेचर के थे, और वो लड़ाई झगड़े में, युद्ध वगैरह में बिलीव नहीं करते थे। इवन अपने स्टेट्स के जितने भी डिस्प्यूट हुआ करते थे वो खुद ही रिसॉर्ट किया करते थे, उन्हें सॉर्ट आउट किया करते थे। ठीक है, इसके बाद उनकी डेथ के बाद जो उनके सन थे मुबारक शाह, उन्होंने गद्दी को संभाला, और अपने फादर की तरह वो भी एक वाइज मैन थे और एक एफिशिएंट रूलर माने जाते थे। उन्होंने रिसोर्सेज को काफ़ी केयरफुली यूज़ किया, और वो एक डिवोट माने जाते थे मुस्लिम के, और उन्होंने मुस्लिम जो धर्म का उसका प्रचार प्रसार भी किया था। उनके डेथ के बाद मुबारक शाह जो थे उनके ब्रदर्स के सन वो गद्दी पे बैठे थे, क्योंकि जो मुबारक शाह थे उनकी कोई भी संतान नहीं थी। ठीक है, लेकिन उनकी गद्दी पे बैठने के बाद वो एक एबल रूलर नहीं थे। इवन अपनी वो जो पावर थी उसका भी वो मिसयूज़ करते थे, तो जिससे उनके जो नोबल्स थे, उनके जो रॉयल्स थे, वो उस चीज़ से काफ़ी परेशान थे। वो एक लेज़ी रूलर थे, लेथार्जिक रूलर थे, और वो बस अपनी लाइफ जीना चाहते थे प्लेजर में। उनकी डेथ के बाद जो उनके सन थे उन्होंने थ्रोन को संभाला, जिनको टाइटल मिला था आलम शाह का। ठीक है, लोधी डायनेस्टी 1451 1526 AD. Bahlul Khan Lodi was the founder of the Lodi dynasty in India and the first Afghan rulers of Delhi. He was an Afghan noble who was a very brave soldier. Bahlul Khan seized the throne without much resistance from the then ruler. Alam Shah. His territory was spread across Jaunpur, Gwalior and northern Uttar Pradesh. During his reign in 1486, he appointed his eldest son Barbak Shah as the viceroy of Jaunpur. Though he was an able ruler, he really couldn't decide as to which son of his should succeed him as the heir to the throne. After the death of Bahlul Khan, his second son succeeded him as the king. He was given the title of Sultan Sikandar Shah. He was a dedicated ruler and made all the effort to expand his territories and strengthen his empire. His empire extended from Punjab to Bihar, and he also signed a treaty with the ruler of Bengal, Alauddin Hussain Shah. He was the one who founded a new town where the modern day Agra stands. He was known to be a kind and generous ruler who cared for his subjects. Ibrahim Lodi was the son of Sikandar, who succeeded him after his death. Due to demands of the nobles, his younger brother Jalal Khan was given a small share of the kingdom, was crowned the ruler of Jaunpur. However, Ibrahim's men assassinated him soon and the kingdom came back to Ibrahim Lodi. Ibrahim was known to be a very stern ruler and was not liked much by his subjects. In order to take revenge of the insult done by Ibrahim, the governor of Lahore, Daulat Khan Lodi, asked the ruler of Kabul, Babur, to invade his kingdom. Ibrahim Lodi was thus killed in a battle with Babur, who was founder of Mughal dynasty in India. With the death of Ibrahim Lodi, the Lodi dynasty also came to end. इसके बाद लोधी डायनेस्टी जो थी वो शासन में आई थी. बहलूल खान लोधी जो था वो लोधी डायनेस्टी का फाउंडर माना जाता है और उसने इंडिया के साथ साथ अफगान पे भी कॉन्कर किया था. इसके साथ साथ वो दिल्ली पे भी कॉन्कर करने के लिए आया था. वो अफगान नोबल था जो कि काफ़ी ब्रेव सोल्जर माना जाता था. बहलूल खान ने जो इंडिया का काफ़ी एरिया उसे कॉन्कर किया था, उसे सीज कर लिया था और यहाँ पे उसने अपनी टेरिटरी वगैरह भी बना ली थी. ठीक है, उसकी जो टेरिटरी थी वो जौनपुर, ग्वालियर एंड नॉर्थ उत्तर प्रदेश के आसपास की थी. उसकी रेंज में उसने अपने एल्डर सन को, जो बारबक शाह था, उसे वायसरॉय ऑफ जौनपुर अपॉइंट कर दिया था. उसके सारे जो सन थे वो काफ़ी एबल रूलर माने जाते थे, इसलिए उन्होंने उसको क्या कर दिया था, अलग अलग जगह का शासक बना दिया था. उसकी डेथ के बाद, बहलूल खान की डेथ के बाद, जो उसका सेकंड सन था उसको किंग बना दिया गया था. इसके बाद उससे टाइटल दे दिया गया था सुल्तान सिकंदर शाह का. ठीक है, वो भी एक डेडिकेटेड रूलर माना जाता था और उसके सब्जेक्ट्स के द्वारा, जो उसकी प्रजा थी उनके द्वारा वो काफ़ी पसंद किया जाता था. इब्राहिम लोदी जो था वो सन माना जाता था ऑफ सिकंदर और उसने उसे क्या कर दिया था, सक्सीड कर दिया था उसकी डेथ के बाद. ठीक है, ड्यू टू डिमांड ऑफ नोबल्स, उसके जो यंगर ब्रदर थे जलाल खान, उनको एक स्मॉल शेयर ऑफ किंगडम दे दिया गया था और साथ ही साथ उन्हें जौनपुर का राजा भी घोषित कर दिया था. इसके बाद एक युद्ध में इब्राहिम लोदी जो था वो मारा गया था एंड विद बाबर, और इसके बाद इब्राहिम लोदी का जो साम्राज्य था, लोदी साम्राज्य, वो क्या हो गया था, एंड हो गया था. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन अंडर सल्तनत. द Iqtadari was a unique type of land distribution and administrative system evolved during the Sultanate period. Under this system, the whole empire was divided into several large and small tracts of land called the Iqtas, which were assigned to nobles, officers and soldiers for the purpose of administration and revenue collection. The Iqtas were transferable, i.e. the holders of Iqtadars were transferred from one region to another every 3 to 4 years. It means that the grant of Iqta did not imply a right to the land. It was just an administrative unit. The Iqta could be big, whole province, or small. The assignees or bigger Iqta, known as Mukti, had dual obligation, tax collection and administration. They collected revenue from their Iqta, defrayed their own expenses, paid the troops maintained by them and sent the Bawzil surplus to the center. Their accounts were checked by royal auditors of the Sultan. The holder of small Iqtas were individual troopers. They had no administrative responsibilities. Appropriated for their personal use, the land revenue collected by them. In return, when the central government called them for service or inspection, they had to be present with horses and arms. Muhammad of Ghor was the first to introduce the Iqta system in India, but it was Iltutmish who gave it an institutional form. The Iqtadari system witnessed numerous changes during the Sultanate period. Initially, Iqta was a revenue-yielding piece of land which was assigned in lieu of salary. However, during Firoz Shah Tughlaq reign, it became hereditary. तो मोहम्मद ऑफ घोर जो थे उन्होंने इक्ता का जो सिस्टम था वो इंडिया में स्टार्ट किया था. हालांकि इससे इंस्टीट्यूशनल फॉर्म जो थी वो दी गई थी इल्तुतमिश के थ्रू. इक्तादारी एक सिस्टम था जहाँ पे आपका जो लैंड था, उसका जो एरिया था, जो किसान उसमें काम करते थे, तो उसका जितना भी रेवेन्यू आता था उसमें से कुछ हिस्सा जो है वो राजाओं वगैरह को दिया करता था. तो इसके लिए कुछ इक्तादार जो थे वो अपॉइंट किए गए थे, जो इक्ता जो था वो लिया करते थे किसानों से या दूसरे काम करने वालों से. Architecture. A closer examination shows that we can classify the tombs built during this period, 15th and 16th century, into two types based on their plans. The first, based on an octagonal plan, were derivations from the original of Khane Jahan Telangani. The main features common to all tombs of this type may be summed up as an octagonal plan with a veranda with an arched colonnade on all sides, a projecting cave, and a height of 1 story. This building would have a dome on top of varying heights and sometimes kiosk or chhatris on the roof, with minor modifications such as raising the height of the dome to make it more visible. These tombs carried on with little major modification. The culmination would probably be Sher Shah's magnificent tomb in Sasaram, Bihar. One notable addition in the tomb of Sikandar Lodi, died 1570 AD, was the introduction of a double dome for the first time in India. A double dome consists of an inner and outer shell, and this innovation became necessary when the height of the dome is increased to create a more imposing elevation. Unfortunately, height of the inner chamber also increases, making it all out of proportion to the inner space. To prevent this, an inner lower shell is added to the dome. तो बच्चों अब हम बात कर लेते हैं उस टाइम के आर्किटेक्चर के बारे में. ठीक है, इस पीरियड में आपको पता है काफ़ी सारे मॉन्यूमेंट्स वगैरह बने थे. ये मॉन्यूमेंट्स जो थे वो राजाओं के द्वारा बनाए गए थे, और राजा वगैरह जो थे वो मॉन्यूमेंट्स इस तरह से बनाते थे कि उसके ऊपर डोम्स वगैरह वो लोग स्थापित करते थे. ठीक है, डोम्स जो एक छतरी टाइप की होती थी, और कभी कभी इसे ऊंचा करने के लिए डबल डोम्स वगैरह भी बनाए जाते थे. द अदर टाइप ऑफ टॉम्ब वॉज स्क्वायर इन प्लान, without a veranda and going up to 3 stories in height, or rather the illusion of stories, as this effect was mostly given by lines of stones and arcs as decorative elements to make the exterior proportion acceptable, whereas the interior in reality was a double or triple height space. The facade had a central rectangle articulated by an arched doorway, and the roof, as in the octagonal type, had a dome. It seems clear enough that the octagonal tombs were reserved for the royal lines, i.e. the sultans, example being those of Mubarak Sayyid, Muhammad Sayyid and Sikandar Lodi, whereas the square tomb were for high-ranking nobles. However, while the octagonal tombs are all identifiable, the square one are known merely by their common names, and it is not known any longer who lied buried in them. तो बच्चों कुछ जो टॉम्स हुआ करते थे वो ऑक्टागोनल शेप के हुआ करते थे, कुछ स्क्वायर और कुछ ट्रायंगल शेप के हुआ करते थे. तो ये अलग अलग राजा की अलग अलग निशानियाँ वगैरह हुआ करती थी. जब राजा मर जाता था, ख़त्म हो जाता था, तो उसको बरी भी वहीं कर दिया जाता था. मॉस्क्स. द एक्सपेरिमेंट विद कवर्ड कोर्ट mosque having been hastily jettisoned after the Kirki Masjid, a more conventional mosque form was resorted in the Lodi period. Apart from the mosque attached to the tombs, one large independent structure, which was to be the forerunner of a whole series of mosques, was constructed during the reign of Sikandar Lodi, the Maut Ki Masjid. First, the mosque attack to the Bara Gummad 1494, second Maut Ki Masjid 1505, जमाला मॉस्क और जमाली कमाली 1536, किलाए कुन्हा मस्जिद 1550. The last was built as Sher Shah's private chapel and is a gem, the culmination of this mosque type. A look at the first in series, the mosque with the Bara Gummad, shows the genesis of the form with 5 arches, residing arches in the facade and domes on top. However, the faulty proportion as well as clumsy handling of the arcs with their weak curves indicate the hesitancy of the designers in building a new typology. The next mosque in the series, the Maut Ki Masjid, shows the rapid crystallization of the earlier concept. Firstly, it is considerably larger than its predecessors. Secondly, the articulation of the recessed arches is far more adept. Thirdly, embellishment has been done using elegant niches on the columns abutting the arches. Another important feature is the use of better material and color, as if the mason were trying for something more permanent and forceful. The third of the example of this type of tomb and the last to be discussed here is a gem of structure originally called the Jamala tomb but now popularly called as Jamali Kamali. But the story of Jamali Kamali lies elsewhere, for before it was finished, a cataclysmic event had taken place, i.e. the Third Battle of Panipat in 1526 AD, when a small but well-led force of cavalry and artillery led by Babur defeated the fractious Afghan nobles led by the last Lodi Sultan. तो बच्चों मॉस्क के बारे में बात कर लेते हैं कि मॉस्क जो थे जैसे महल वगैरह बनते थे वैसे जो राजा महाराजा हुआ करते थे वो मॉस्क वगैरह भी बनाते थे और इसमें 3 तरह के मॉस्क जो है वो फेमस है. जो फर्स्ट जो मॉस्क था वो अटैच था टू बारा गुम्मद. सेकेंड वन वॉज मौत की मस्जिद एंड जो थर्ड वाला था वो था जमाला मॉस्क और जमाली कमाली. ठीक है. इसमें फोर्थ था किलाए कुना मस्जिद जो कि 1550 में बिल्ड किया गया था. जो लास्ट था वो बिल्ड किया गया था शेर शाह के द्वारा और वो उसका क्या था प्राइवेट चैपल था. ठीक है. जिसको कल्मिनेशन ऑफ दिस मॉस्क टाइप भी माना जाता है. गुम्मद जो थे वो शो करते थे द जेनेसिस ऑफ द फॉर्म और इसमें 5 आर्चेज जो थे वो रिसाइड करते थे द फेकेड एंड द डोम ऑन द टॉप. मतलब डोम्स वगैरह जो हुआ करते थे वो महल में भी बनते थे और मॉस्क वगैरह में भी बनते थे. जो नेक्स्ट मॉस्क है इन सीरीज में वो मौत की मस्जिद कहलाती है और जो रैपिड क्रिस्टलाइजेशन को शो करती है ऑफ द अर्लियर कॉन्सेप्ट. तो बच्चों जो थर्ड टाइप का टॉम है जिसका नाम है जमाली कमाली, इसकी जो स्टोरी है वो लाई करती है थर्ड बैटल ऑफ पानीपत के दौरान. Disintegration of the Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate lasted for 320 years. The cause of decline of the Sultanate was the inherently weak system of government. A rule depending upon the sword was bound to disintegrate under the weak rulers. Second, the actions of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, later the Appeasement Act of Firoz Shah hastened catastrophe. Third, the invasion of Tamur dealt a terrible to the stability of the empire. Ibrahim Lodi proved to be a foolish, vain-glorious prince whose rule became irreparable even to his own kinsman. The general group of nobility had degenerated for wealth and brought on the attendant evils of debauchery and emotion, and the lack of a clear-cut succession policy created problems. तो बच्चों जान लेते हैं सल्तनत के डिसइंटीग्रेशन का क्या रीज़न था. दिल्ली सल्तनत जो थी वो लास्ट की गई 320 ईयर्स तक और इसके डिक्लाइन के जो रीज़न थे वो यहाँ पे इस प्रकार से थे. एक तो जो सिस्टम था गवर्नमेंट का वो काफ़ी वीक था और जो तैमूर था उसके बार बार आक्रमण से जो स्टेबिलिटी थी वो ख़त्म होती जा रही थी. इवन जो इब्राहिम लोदी था वो एक फुलिश शासक जो था वो प्रूफ हुआ और जनरल ग्रुप जो थे उसमें जो नोबिलिटी थी उसमें भी बार बार दरार आती रहती थी जिस वजह से इसका पतन होना लाजमी हो गया था. केस स्टडी the Khalji and Tughlaqs. The Sultan had also decentralized form of government during the time of Ghiyasuddin Balban AD 1266 to 1287. The central government had enormous powers over the provincial chiefs. This had helped him to further enhance the position of the Sultan and exercise control over the nobility. He had also taken up many reforms in the army and had appointed loyal officers. It also helped in collection of revenue in a transparent manner. The strong central government had enabled Balban and his successors, the Khaljis, to defend India's border against repeated attacks by Mongols. Under Iltutmish, the governor were appointed as provincial administration. These governors were also slaves and were especially trained for military services. They were called Badangan in Persian. They held important political officers in the kingdom. They were often known as their clients to high political positions. Although these Badangans prove very successful, but it introduced an element of political instability to the Sultanate. तो बच्चों यहाँ पे केस स्टडी कर लेते हैं खलजीज एंड तुगलक्स के बारे में। जो सुल्तान थे वो डिसेंट्रलाइज फॉर्म में थे अपनी गवर्नमेंट के। इनकी सल्तनत में जब गियासुद्दीन बलबन था तो उसकी जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट थी उसका काफ़ी पावरफुल इम्पैक्ट था पूरे प्रोविंस में। इसमें हेल्प मिली थी दूसरे जितने भी आपके शासक थे उनको शासन करने में, और साथ ही साथ जो रेवेन्यू वगैरह था उसका कलेक्शन भी ईजी हो गया था। ठीक है, नाउ कंट्रोल ऑफ नोबल्स। स्लेव्स लाइक मलिक कफूर वर मोर लॉयल टू देयर मास्टर्स देन द एलाइड गवर्नर। The appointment of slaves to high positions also helped to keep ambitious nobles in check. At the time of accession of the new monarch, there was always conflict among nobles to favor one or other heirs to the throne under Sultanate rules. The noble and aristocratic class of people enjoyed great power and prestige. They had also many special rights and had a special relationship with Sultan. Many of them had come from the land where from Sultan himself came. There were a few local nobles also. The patronage extended to the slaves. It had shocked many nobles and other elites. The authors of Persian Tuarchics have criticized the Delhi sultans for appointing low and base-born people of humble origin to high position. तो बच्चों उस टाइम पे स्लेव्स जो गवर्नमेंट थी, जो डायनेस्टी थी, वो भी काफ़ी बढ़ गई थी। स्लेव जैसे मलिक कफूर वो काफ़ी लॉयल हुआ करते थे अपने मास्टर्स के लिए, और साथ ही साथ उन्हें गवर्नमेंट को चलाने में, शासन को चलाने में क्या किया करते थे, हेल्प किया करते थे। इवन उन्हें सेना कैसे चलाई जाती है या सेना में किस किस की भर्ती होनी चाहिए, इस कामों में भी जो स्लेव्स हुआ करते थे वो हेल्प किया करते थे राजा की। The Ikta system. The Delhi Sultanate developed a highly decentralized system of government. Land was granted to noble and other important and influential persons for the purpose of collection of taxes. The Khalji and Tughlaq sultans also granted this land of military commanders as governors of some territories of varying size. This grant of land was known as Ikta, and the people who controlled the land were called Iqtadar or Muktis. It was essentially a feudatory system, but it helped in giving legitimacy to Muslim rule. The Muktis paid their soldiers from the revenue collected. Land control reflected the governor style of the sultans that helped them in revenue collection. There were other forms of land control like land tax, providing irrigation facilities and undertaking reforms measures as was done under Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. तो बच्चों अलाउद्दीन खिलजी और मोहम्मद तुगलक के जब शासन हुआ था तो उन दिनों इक्ता एक सिस्टम था जो चलाया गया था। इक्ता में जो इक्तादार्स होते थे वो किसानों से या दूसरे कारीगरों से इक्ता जो था, रेवेन्यू जो था वो वसूला करते थे, और इसी रेवेन्यू से वो अपने सोल्जर्स वगैरह को, बाकी जो उनके काम करने वाले थे उनको वो पे किया करते थे। Revenue collection. The greatest advantage of this structure and military control described above was resource mobilization. The Islamic rulers created a sound system of government structure. The chief government officers were the Wazir, Chief Minister, Wakil-e-Dar, Controller of Households, Amir-e-Dad, Minister of Justice, Amir-e-Hajib, Officer in charge of Royal Household, Mushrif, Accounts Officer, Mustafi, officers in charge of expenditures, and Sahib-e-Barib, officer in charge of communication and intelligence. With the help of these officers, it was ensured that muktis collected only the taxes prescribed by the state. With the revenue, they also maintained required number of soldiers. Since there were diverse population of people, the Sultan needed special laws to mobilize resources. Revenue collection system was modified during each period to suit the needs of particular rulers. It also laid great stress on rural economy at a time when there was little scope for development of a national policy. Under Alauddin Khilji's rule, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its own control. The Samantas and rich landlords were also required to accept the authority of the sultans. In this way, the Delhi sultans brought the hinterlands of the cities under their control. The people who worked on the lands thus remained very poor. The measurement of the land was also done by the officials, and they also kept detailed accounts. Some landlords and chieftains also served as revenue collectors and assessors. The sultans imposed different kinds of taxes on people of different religious affinities. There were generally three kinds of taxes: kharaj, jizya and zakat. Taxes were also charged on the cattle and on houses. Though the revenue collection was raised to about 50%, the rulers had penetrated deep into the countryside. The Muslim religions and culture spread very fast in the villages. It also helped to strengthen provincial administration. तो एकता के साथ साथ मुक्तिस एक कर हुआ करता था, वो भी लिया जाता था लोगों से टैक्स के रूप में, ठीक है। उनसे रेवेन्यू वगैरह कलेक्ट किया जाता था, जैसे उनकी शॉप वगैरह वो लेते थे या कोई दूसरी चीज़ थी, प्रॉपर्टी वगैरह पर टैक्स लगाया जाता था, दूसरे जो आपके व्यापार वगैरह होता था उस पर भी टैक्स लगाया जाता था और उनसे कलेक्ट किया जाता था। Regional kingdoms. The Sultan, for both his military and economic power, depended on revenue collectors, the chieftains and the landed aristocracy. The factional disputes among the chieftains as well as within the royal family prevented them from controlling distant lands. The provinces like Bengal and Gujarat often declared their independence soon after their annexation. The sample happened to Deccan and southern India. Even in the Ganga plain, sultans could not penetrate certain forested areas, and they too remained under the rules of local chieftains. The sultan, despite having no stable economic base and noble being in debt, took money from money lenders. The system not only helped the local rulers but also ensured continuity of the Islamic empire. The rulers like Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq tried to expand their empire far and wide but only for a short period. तो रीजनल किंगडम के बारे में जान लेते हैं। सुल्तान जो थे वो अपनी मिलिट्री और इकोनॉमिक पावर को बढ़ाना चाहते थे, ठीक है, और इसके लिए इन्होंने काफ़ी कलेक्टर्स वगैरह, चिफ्टेंस वगैरह पे वो डिपेंडेंट रहते थे, क्योंकि ये उनको रेवेन्यू वगैरह कलेक्ट करके देते थे और फिर इससे वो अपना जो शासन था वो सुचारू रूप से चलाते थे। प्रोविंसेस जैसे कि बंगाल, गुजरात जो थे वो पहले क्या कर दिए गए थे, इंडिपेंडेंट घोषित कर दिए गए थे आफ्टर देयर एनेक्सेशन। और सेम जो था वो हुआ था डेक्कन के साथ इन साउथ इंडिया। इवन जो आपका गंगा प्लेन है, सुल्तान जो थे उसे पेनिट्रेट नहीं कर पाए थे, मतलब उसे अपने अंडर नहीं कर पाए थे। ये जो सिस्टम था ये काफ़ी सख्त था, जो रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन का जो सिस्टम था ये काफ़ी सख्त था, जिससे लोग जो थे वो बहुत परेशान थे और इन लोगों के खिलाफ थे। तो ये जो सिस्टम था ये उन लोकल रूलर्स को बिल्कुल भी हेल्प नहीं कर पाता था, उनकी कॉन्टीन्यूटी को क्या करने के लिए, इंश्योर करने के लिए। Mongol invasion. During Khalji rule 1290 to 1320, Mongols invaded India several times. Their invasion began in 1219 with Mongols leader Genghis Khan invading Transylvania in the northeast Iran. Soon the Delhi Sultanate also faced the Mongol onslaught. The Mongol invasion continued thereafter until the early years of the rule of Muhammad Tughlaq. This kept Sultan busy in the northwest. The Mongols engaged in plundering the Sultanate, ultimately resulted in decline of Khalji power. Many of the Mongols had embraced Islam during this time and settled near Delhi. इन दिनों जो मंगोल्स थे वो भी इंडिया में आक्रमण करते रहते थे और अपना आधिपत्य वो स्थापित करते रहते थे। वो खलजीज वगैरह से लड़ते रहते थे, बार बार उनके युद्ध होते रहते थे, क्योंकि मंगोल भी अपना शासन यहाँ पे जमाना चाहते थे। धीरे धीरे मंगोल्स जो थे उन्होंने युद्ध किया और काफ़ी जगह उन्होंने हथिया ली और काफ़ी जगहों को उन्होंने लूटा भी था। Muhammad Tughlaq's failure. The list of failures of Muhammad Tughlaq's reign is very lengthy. It is particularly noteworthy that the people did not have enough to satisfy their needs. On the other hand, the revenue was fixed as high as 50% of the produce from the land. In addition, the peasants had to pay taxes and bribes to government officials. The operation of peasants through taxation of the Doab by Muhammad bin Tughlaq AD 1324 to 1351 is often cited as an example of harsh measures taken for revenue collection. The improvised farmers in the Ganga Yamuna Doab had fled to escape the tyranny of officers of the Sultanate. They had taken to robbery. Many historians think that Mongol invasion were directly related to amazing of illegitimate wealth by many of the officials of the Sultanate. Unlike Alauddin's defensive measures, Muhammad Tughlaq's invasion in the northeast were conceived as a part of military offensive against the Mongols. तो बच्चों, मोहम्मद तुगलक क्यों फेल हुआ था? क्योंकि उसने जो फीजेंट्स वगैरह हुआ करते थे, जो यात्री हुआ करते थे, जो अपनी यात्राओं पे जाते थे, तीर्थ यात्राओं पे, उन पे उसने कर लगाना बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पोज कर दिया था। मतलब 50% तक कर जो था वो उनसे लिया जाता था, जिस वजह से वो फीजेंट जो थे वो काफ़ी परेशान थे और इस वजह से उन्हें मंगोल्स की क्या ली थी, हेल्प ली थी। बाद में जो मोहम्मद तुगलक का इन्वेजन था इन द नॉर्थ वेस्ट, वो कंसीव कर दिया गया था एज ए पार्ट ऑफ मिलिट्री और इसे ऑफेंसिव माना गया था अगेंस्ट द मंगोल्स। कीवर्ड्स: group of 40 Turkish nobles who were 40 in numbers, accession to come to the throne. Let's recapitulate. In the early 8th century, Arabs invaded India led by Muhammad bin Qasim. The army was organized efficiently under Iltutmish and he also introduced a coin currency known as Tanka. The first Indian ruler of the Khalji dynasty was Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji, who ruled from 1290 to 1296. The Iqtidari was a unique type of land distribution and administrative system evolved during the Sultanate period. Muhammad of Ghor was the first to introduce the Iqta system in India. So children, I hope you understood the chapter very well. Now you can revise the chapter and practice the given exercise by yourself.